5 for Friday. If the Michigan Wolverines manage to win a national championship, can you see Harbaugh returning to the NFL, possibly with the team that made him a first-round pick in 1987, the Chicago Bears?
I mean, I could. I don't necessarily know why he would want to leave Michigan. I mean, unless it just feels like, yeah, mission accomplished, and then I can go to the NFL and I can do the one thing that I haven't done, which is win a Super Bowl, because my brother beat me the one time I got there as an NFL head coach. I could also see the Bears being interested in Harbaugh just based on the way things went with San Francisco when they had Kaepernick and how he was able to train that young QB and build him up and make him a really good, productive player. So I could see it happening, but do I think it will happen? Not necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know about Harbaugh coming back to the NFL. Now, one of the reasons that his name had slipped off of the speculation list, it never was really at the top of the A-list. Nobody that I know of made a serious run at bringing him back because he just wasn't doing a good job at Michigan. Right. And he's already 2 years past his shelf life. Everywhere else he had been. Yeah, low-level assistant with the Raiders, 4 years. University of San Diego, 4 years. Stanford, 4 years. 49ers, 4 years. And one of the great quotes from a book Gary Myers did about football fathers and sons, when Jack Harbaugh, the dad of Jim and John, would periodically have to move because he was taking a new coaching job somewhere else, there was one occasion where Jim came home and said, "Dad, it's time to move again. I lost my last friend today." And that's kind of how Jim is. I mean, Jim will wear on people, and you just wonder at some point, do you make the move? When is the right time to make the move? And can you get some crazy, nutty coaching money at the NFL level? That's one of the things going to be fascinating this year. We saw Matt Rule get $9.5 million a year a couple of years ago. We see which way the wind is blowing at the college level. What is it going to take for a team that is ready to go all in for a coach to get him? Is it going to take $10 million a year right out of the gates? Is it going to take $15 million a year right out of the gates? Do the Bears want Jim Harbaugh so badly that they will dangle crazy money in his direction just to placate the fans? And wouldn't that be something if the Michigan coach and the Ohio State quarterback come together in Chicago? I can't rule out anything. What we've seen the last 2 weeks is so freaking nutty, Miles. I can't rule out anything at this point. Any move by anyone, anywhere, I will not say there's no way it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see Michigan beating Ohio State, but then I don't necessarily watch all that much college football. But I don't know, man. I think it could be at least an interesting, fascinating story if he were to come back to the NFL, especially playing for coaching for the Bears. It certainly would be interesting. But, you know, it does. He has that shelf life, and it's like, all right, do you want to be able to go all in with him, get what you can get, and then you know that there's going to be an inevitable split? Or if you're Harbaugh, do you just want to say, hey, man, I'm at my alma mater, and I'm probably, especially now that I've gone to the college football playoff, they're not going to get rid of me anytime soon. This is a great job. It's a place that I love. You always have to weigh those things.
Well, and look, how many more contracts is he going to have? How much money does he think he's going to get? How much more will Michigan pay when you consider what USC is paying and LSU? And, you know, the dominoes are falling. Those are all factors as well. They're not going to be worn on anyone's sleeve, but they're going to be real factors behind the scenes. Item 2, Russell Wilson will play for the blank next season. Cleveland, can we see the orange helmet? Cleveland Browns? Who do you think?
No, I'm going to say Seahawks. I'm going to be boring, but this is because I felt this way about Kirk Cousins a few years ago. Like, quarterbacks and their teams don't usually split when they have the chance to stay together, right? I mean, you just don't usually see that. And I feel like Russell Wilson's going to stay, and it's a lot easier to replace the coaching staff. And Pete Carroll probably could be shown the door. I mean, you have these reports now that Jody Allen wants to get more involved in things, and she wants to do this and she wants to do that. And if that's the case, and you've got a franchise QB there, then that's probably where you're going to side. And if there is two sides to this, which I feel like we can say that there are at this point. So I think that Russell Wilson's probably going to stay in Seattle, and because I think that, he probably is going to be somewhere else, Mike.
I believe that he will play for the It's too early. It's too early. Wow is a good team. If I have to, no, I'm not going to punt. I'm not going to punt. I'm going to pick one. I'm going to say I'll play for the Browns next season.
Wow? Oh, the Browns.
I'm going to say he's going to play for the Browns because 2018 when the Browns had the first pick in the draft, there was some talk about the number 1 overall pick that became Baker Mayfield going to Cleveland going to Seattle, for Russell Wilson, and the Seahawks would have taken Josh Allen. So, if I had to pick a team right now, I would say the Browns. The reality is this: that report yesterday about he would waive his no-trade clause for the Saints, the Broncos, and the Giants, it is too premature to begin to connect dots. Too many things need to happen. We don't know which coaches are going to be fired. We don't know which GMs are going to be fired. There's a lot of dust that needs to settle before we get to the point where Russell Wilson would even have the occasion to begin to put together his list of teams for which he'd waive his no-trade clause. Because when you hear the report that there are 3, the implication is that there are 28 others for which he wouldn't. And I think that's not realistic at all. There are other seats out there where they could need a quarterback. So it's definitely in play. And all the naysayers out there, you weren't paying attention to Russell Wilson, miserable Russ a few days after the Super Bowl with Dan Patrick. You weren't paying attention to the statement from the agent. My client doesn't want to be traded, but if he were to be traded, he'd accept a trade to the Bears, the Raiders, the Saints, or the Cowboys. I mean, come on. Of course he wants out, unless they make major changes. And we'll see what they do. But it's too early to start connecting dots. The only reason we're doing it is because of the report from earlier this week. But I don't buy that one. I choose to not buy that one because it's too early for anybody to be picking the next destination of Russell Wilson.
So you sell it. Yeah, no, I agree with you too. I mean, I don't think that's probably part of why I'm just saying the Seahawks at this point, because it's like, well, anything else is just too much speculation. And not only that, but I just think that there's going to be so much movement with quarterbacks in this offseason. It's not necessarily just Russell Wilson. What about Aaron Rodgers? What about somebody like Derek Carr? Is he going to want to be able to go through another rebuild with another regime there in Las Vegas? I think that there could just be so much that we don't necessarily know yet. It's too hard right now.
Next regime may not want him. Next coach may not be a Derek Carr guy. It's not like Derek Carr is Peyton Manning, where the next coach is going to say, well, of course I want. I mean, Tony, what a decision Tony Dungy had to make in 2002 when he became the Colts coach. Do you want Peyton Manning? Let me think about it. Let me sleep on it. We'll see how it all plays out. It's going to be a fascinating offseason. And I'm not just saying that so people come watch us and come to PFT. It is going to be a fascinating offseason. Will we have a head coach fired before the end of the regular season? If yes, who is the first to go? And remember, this year for the first time, teams that have vacancies or teams that have informed their head coach he will be gone can begin interviewing with permission assistants from other teams in the final 2 weeks of the regular season. So I think the answer is yes. The question is who goes first?
I think it'll probably be Matt Nagy, because I think that he's going to have the worst record at that point of coaches that could be fired. It's probably him, Mike Zimmer, or Vic Fangio, or kind of the 3 coaches where it's like, yeah, there's probably something there where you might not make it to next year, and there are different reasons for all that. I think, if the Vikings lose that game last night, then we might not have to have this question, because Mike Zimmer, we might have heard that he got fired today, right? And so I think that with Nagy, we don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but it just seems like the Nagy era in Chicago was coming to an end. And with Vic Fangio in Denver, you have a new general manager who did not pick him. So that's something where they could want a new coach, and they could want somebody to pair with Peyton who they mesh together, and it's not an arranged marriage. So I feel like it's going to be one of those 3. And I'm sorry if I now have taken your pick, Mike.
The problem with Zimmer letting him go is you look at the staff, there's nobody there who would be a competent interim coach. Zimmer could be the one who finds out week 17 he's not coming back, that it's over, that it's done, and that's one of the keys that allows the Vikings to begin interviewing other candidates. That Zimmer's told, you're the interim coach, basically. You're out, but you're the interim coach.
You're a lame duck.
And at that point, it'd be funny. Does he just walk away? I don't know, but I don't think he would do that to his players. I'm going to throw Joe Judge in there as well as a possibility.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I hadn't thought that, but I had a conversation today that got me thinking maybe the Giants aren't going to have an arranged marriage with their next GM. Because what happens is, if you fire your GM, and it looks like Dave Gettleman won't be back, whatever label they apply, he won't be back. If you want to keep Joe Judge, you tie a hand behind your back in your search for a GM, because you're either going to get somebody who genuinely wants Judge, and that reduces your universe of coaches, or you're going to get somebody who comes in under a cloak of duplicity, who's saying, yeah, I want Judge, but secretly doesn't want Judge, and then in a year or two, you end up firing the coach and getting a new one, and then you're off kilter again. I'm a big believer in both guys going, or both guys staying. I've always believed that. That promotes functionality. If that's the vibe in an organization, you never have one guy trying to stab the other in the back. You both go or you both stay. So I'm going to throw Judge in there as well, again, to give the Giants the benefit of the head start on trying to find their next coach. If you're the Steelers, where do you find your future quarterback? Draft, trade, free agency. What do you do?
I would say trade. I mean, I think if you're the Steelers, maybe you could become the leader in the clubhouse to get somebody like an Aaron Rodgers, because, I mean, it seemed like, the Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers were making eyes at each other during that game that they had earlier in the season. Also, the Steelers are a very stable organization. They're competitive every single year. They may finish below 500 this year, which would be, I think, the first time you guys were saying earlier on the show since 2003 that they've had a losing season. They haven't had one under Mike Tomlin. So they've got talent. They've got the infrastructure to be able to win quickly. So, yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers could be somebody that they could bring in if it's not Russell Wilson or if it's not somebody like Derek Carr, too. I mean, they're a ready-made team, I think, that can still compete if they have a veteran QB come in.
They had a long 20 years between Terry Bradshaw and Ben Roethlisberger. I think they just need to position themselves to go get one of the top prospects. The problem is their record won't position them. They may have to trade up. But we've seen with Troy Polamalu, Santonio Holmes, Devin Bush, they will trade up for the guys they want. It would be fascinating if they get Kenny Pickett all these years after they turned up their nose at Dan Marino, when they thought Terry Bradshaw still had years left. As it turned out, he played in one more game after Marino was drafted by the Dolphins in '83. All right, last one, very, very quickly. Season ends today. Who's your MVP?
Tom Brady. Give me the old man as the MVP. He's leading the league with 3,800 passing yards there just about. He's got 34 touchdowns, also leads the league, only has 10 picks. He's about also leading the league in passing attempts and completions. He's doing things that we've never seen anybody do, and I guess I'm giving him a bump for the age, but Tom Brady's my guy.
I hate to say this. I hate to agree with you, but right now, yes, because Kyler Murray's missed 3 games. Otherwise, I'd say Kyler Murray. After 5 more games, and if the Cardinals are the 1 seed, it'll be Kyler Murray. For me, it's the quarterback of the 1 seed in the NFC. That's the MVP. So it's down, as a practical matter, to Brady, Murray, or Aaron Rodgers.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.